I'm not going to act like I'm some expert, but I did come into South Bend this weekend with Notre Dame taking on the number 10 team in the country, USC. And I said, I think Notre Dame is going to win by 2 touchdowns.
So you're an expert.
So I'm an expert now.
No, they won by a lot more than that.
Actually, that's true. I was way off. I was 2 touchdowns off. Matt, this is your alma mater.
It was.
They came to South Bend. This is a big rivalry, the biggest intersectional rivalry in college football, they say. And they lose 48-20, and they make Caleb Williams look human, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Sacked him, I think, 8 times, 3 interceptions. I mean,
they sacked him. Yep, they sacked him 6 times, and I think they had like 10 tackles for loss in this game. 11 tackles for loss in this game. You know, and you got to give credit to Al Golden, the defense coordinator for Notre Dame, right? He had a plan to contain Caleb Williams, to make him uncomfortable all game long, to try to make him play within the pocket and not let him escape, and had a plan in rush lanes and everything else. And it was executed beautifully. And you saw it in the first half. First interception happens, sets up an easy touchdown. Second interception, they get a tip ball, but at the same time, defensive coverage on the back end I thought was solid all day long. And then the third, once again, what happens when you start to feel that pressure and the sense of urgency goes up, and then all of a sudden you have a guy like Caleb Williams that's used to making those plays. He forces the ball downfield once again, sets them up, and they capitalize on every one of those. So the defensive unit for Notre Dame really, to me, was a story of the game, because they set their offense up with opportunities to score every single time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I do think they were the story of the game, and everybody has a game plan coming in. And we had talked earlier in the week about what you kind of try to do to contain Caleb, and then I sat in coaches' meetings this week, and Al Golden described the plan. I thought it was a really good plan. Every plan sounds pretty good on paper.
True statement.
You got to go out there and actually execute it, and they did to perfection. And you talked about the rush plan. And I thought that was the most important thing that they had to achieve, and they did that. But one of the things that Al Golden talked about was he believed that they had guys in that secondary who he could put in man-to-man situations, and they could win. And they did. And there were some penalties in there, of course, because USC's got really good players, and they're going to catch some balls. But, like, majority of those battles, they won them. And I think that is the biggest part. Like, we talk about football as a complementary sport. And I think even on the sides of the ball, it is very complimentary, where the rush has to help out the secondary. The secondary's got to give time for the rush to get there. Then you make a bigger picture for this game. Is the defense set up the offense to be able to score points on a short field against a defense in USC that was struggling? You have a special teams touchdown as an answer to USC going down and having a big special teams play and scoring themselves. Like, that is the way that you're able to dominate a team like USC. They executed everything they needed to perfection.
And I have to point out, look, Xavier Watts today, the dude showed up to play.
It might have been the greatest defensive game in Notre Dame history.
Like, dude was balling.
Dude was balling. Interceptions, two interceptions, scoop and score, that forced fumble that he created, and then what was it? The fumble recovery at the end, there.
I think he forced a fumble at the end, but
that's all time. Yep. Especially from that position. I mean, that it just showed up to played out in the biggest game. I mean, you've got to feel good for him, because that's a big moment for him. This is the rivalry games too, right?
Buddy.
You got to show up, and these are legacies that people are going to remember his performance tonight.
Where legends are made, right? Like, I don't want to overstate it, but to your point, if you're going to ball out like that, this is a perfect game to do it.
So you're saying doing it against Central Michigan doesn't quite have
it doesn't feel the same as doing it against the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in USC.
Right. But I bring that to people's attention because a lot of time we concentrate on the skill players. We try to concentrate on the quarterback. We try to concentrate on the running back or a guy that has a big day at the wide receiver position. But rarely do you sit there and watch a guy take over a game from the safety position.
Yeah. And I will say too, and this won't be the first time I say it on this show today, I think that possessing the football is the most important aspect of the game. And from a defensive standpoint, you have opportunities. It's first off by getting stops and keeping drives short.
Right.
The second thing is by taking the freaking football away and giving it right to your offense.
Right.
Or just scoring on defense. And all of those things occurred.
Right.
It was possessing the ball, though. This is the crazy thing. You look at the team stats for this game.
It's insane.
USC won time of possession handily in this one. 35 minutes almost. Notre Dame had it for 25 minutes. You look at total yards. USC won 302 to 251. You look at first downs. They had 10 more first downs than Notre Dame. But the sacks, the negative plays, and the turnovers, it was all, you add that all up, and it's a blowout the other way.
I mean, listen, when you go one play drive for 2 yards that took 3 seconds off the clock, time possession don't matter, right? Like the idea is your offense has the ball with the chance to do something with it, and that's where Notre Dame ended up for most of the game.
And it wasn't that the USC defense, I know that
they're going to catch hell for no reason.
They're going to catch hell, and people are going to criticize them, and they see the 48. But look, Notre Dame once again was 3 of 10 on third down. Right? They didn't possess the ball. They didn't move the ball, but they were set up in great situations.
126
That's
yards.
what I'm saying. He hit the Chris Tyree in the third quarter. They had a special teams touchdown, and they were in the red zone all night long because of the turnovers, right? There's 2 defensive touchdowns in this, or 1 defensive touchdown in this game, 1 special teams touchdown. USC's defense actually played better than I thought that they were going to, but it was the opportunities that the defensive side of the ball gave to the Notre Dame offense.
Has USC's defense held a Power 5 opponent to 250 yards in a game?
No, they gave up 500 yards last week to Arizona.
And so they're going to catch hell, and I understand why. But if you watch the game, it doesn't make any sense.
That's what Lincoln Riley, I talked to him running off the field at halftime. He said to me, "Is like, look at the 3 turnovers." He's like, when they've had to drive the whole field, our defense has held up pretty well, and that really was a story for them, despite giving up 48 points. One more thing.
Yes.
How does this change our opinion of Caleb Williams?
So I'll say this: I don't know how much it actually changes my opinion, because I still think that he is an explosive player. I still think that he has unique talents that you cannot teach. My biggest criticism of Caleb Williams is if he has to operate from the pocket and cannot extend plays, can he be efficient? If he is a guy who has to throw the ball from a well with pressure in his face, can he be efficient? If he is a guy who actually has to be in a system and can't play backyard football, is it an effective way for them to move the football? And I think this game kind of confirmed it. Now, it's over the top because nobody's supposed to get sacked 6 times and be successful. I also think part of that is if we put the clock on, half of those sacks, he's probably holding on to the football way longer than you expect the quarterback to hold on to it.
Right. And that's the one thing I said this in pregame. I said, there's so much more room to grow. His ceiling is so high, right? Because of just the instincts that he plays with, his ability to manipulate the pocket, get outside, and his escapability. But I think where the growth comes from is working within the framework of the system, taking the easy throw, working through his progression. And he does that at times, but I think that there's other times where he's looking to make the big play. Will bypass an open wide receiver. And that's the interesting part about his game is because, and we even talked about to Lincoln Riley about it. And we said, sometimes you'll see him blatantly bypass a wide open wide receiver, not get to his second read. And then he'll scramble around and make that big play.
And you can do that against Arizona.
Right. You can do that against certain teams, but against really good competition, what ends up happening is you make the plays like you did tonight, right? And so you have to be sound in that area for you to make it at the next level. Not so much here as much as it is at the next level.
No doubt.
So Caleb Williams no longer the Heisman favorite. He probably was going into this game, I would think. Undefeated USC.
For sure.
I think it might have been, the odds might have flipped to Penix before this one, but I think he was still top 2.